Hey everybody, I'm the Bipolar Critic, and I'm here to help you feel better about your opinion about a movie. Now, I've never been the biggest fan of movie critics, so naturally, I started a YouTube review channel. Totally makes sense, right? They see 10 to 12 movies a week, they go in with their pad and their pen, they've got a system, a method, and it works for them, but I feel like they've lost something, and that's just going and enjoying a movie for the first time. You know, going in with a crowd and your snacks, turning off your brain just a little bit, and enjoying the movie for what it is. But I'm here to change that. Now, I know what you're saying to yourself. You're saying to yourself, but critic, which is a funny thing to be saying to yourself. But I digress. You're saying to yourself, critic, what does any of that have to do with being bipolar? Well, like a lot of people, I grew up loving movies, but in my early 20s, I was diagnosed bipolar. And while movies can be a great escape for something like that, I used movies to really understand what was going on inside myself. I started watching more and more movies and more kinds of movies, and in analyzing what these characters were going through and any emotion they were feeling in any given situation, it really helped me understand what was going on in my own head. So not only were movies an escape, but they were a way to help me understand myself on a deeper level. Fast forward to last year, 2020, the worldwide pandemic. And like most everybody, I was stuck at home with little or nothing to do other than watch old movies. And, you know, some of them held up, some of them didn't. But the more and more I watched in quarantine by myself, I ended up with a little bit of a problem. Two schools of thought, the critic and the average moviegoer, started to develop their own personalities. You'll see what I mean in just a second. As this started to happen, I realized the only real way to get these two characters talking to each other was to get on YouTube and start reviewing movies. I didn't say any of this made sense. So I'm going to do something a little different with this movie review channel. I'm going to watch a movie I haven't seen 2 times. The first time, I'm going to go in just like any other average moviegoer. I'm not going to take a notepad in. I'm just going to go in, watch the movie, and give you my first general raw reactions. Love it or hate it. Then I'm going to turn around pretty quickly and go see it a second time. Now that second time, I am going to take in my notepad and my pen and see if maybe the movie still holds up. My hope is that a middle ground might emerge. The truth of, is this movie good or bad, or does it hold up, might be somewhere in the middle. The other thing I hope reviewing movies like this does is validate your opinion of the movie. The way you enjoy a movie or don't enjoy a movie is just as valid as the other person. Now, I know all of that might be a little confusing, so we're just going to get started, and I think you'll get the idea. The first movie I decided to review for this channel is 2021's Mortal Kombat. First, we're going to cut over to me, because I've seen it one time, and I'm ready to give my review. So me? What did I think? Oh, that's gonna get weird. I really enjoyed this movie. It was fun. The action scenes, the fight choreography, the stunts were breathtaking. It kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. The CG was fantastic. Well, okay, with a couple of exceptions. There were a couple of the more rubbery costumes that buckled in ways at times that was hard to not notice, even for me. But other than that, again, the CG was very well done. It was hard for me to pinpoint where the movie was going. I was surprised. Now, to be fair, I've only played the first 2 games. I saw the movies in the 90s, but I'm not as steeped in the lore that I know is out there. So maybe for the more hardcore fans, it was more predictable. But for me, I was surprised by a lot of it. And to me, the bare bones litmus test of an action film is a lot like a good musical. The ones that really stick with you are the ones that you leave the theater singing the tunes or humming or whistling. A good action film, you leave the theater vibrating with energy and you just want to move. You don't necessarily want to get into a fight, join a dojo, or learn martial arts. Maybe some people do. For me, it's that you leave just wanting to move in general, all this energy that the movie builds in you. And that's what this movie did for me. So you guys are going to have to finish the rest of the review yourselves. I need to go work some of this off. I'm probably just going to go out to the front yard, do cartwheels or somersaults or something. So you guys have fun. I'm going to go. Oh, wow. He really left. Okay. That was quick. I guess I really liked it. Let's turn around, watch it a second time. Matt, What'd you think this time? Well, I really enjoyed it too. Oh, really? Yeah. For about the first 8 minutes. Yep, there it is. Wait, you're me. Why didn't I see that coming? Yeah, that cold open, that was exactly what I'd hoped the whole movie was gonna be. Well orchestrated, beautiful camera work, big, long, wide shots of gorgeous sets and exteriors with great color, great fight scenes, and this fight scene was great, even though the editing was a little distracting, but I'll get to that. There was so little dialogue, but the acting was still nuanced and emotional and made you actually invest in these characters. It set up a plot and a mystery with literally zero exposition. I mean, they showed us, and then they didn't tell us a thing, and it piqued your interest. It made you excited to see what was going to happen after all this, what was next. So I bought into what I thought they were selling, and then after those first 8 minutes, I realized they were selling me a lemon. The orchestration just got riddled with bad techno, and to be clear, I don't hate techno or bad techno in movies, but they only used this in the fight scenes, which made it kind of disjointed and jarring, and I don't know if they were doing it for nostalgia's sake, but it didn't make me think of the video games, it didn't make me think of the movies from the 90s, so it failed even there. It just didn't need to be in this movie. And then they decided to swap up, show don't tell with tell don't show. And what I mean is that they took that mystery that they built up in those first 8 minutes, that who's this guy that burnt up? What's that dragon mark? What is Mortal Kombat? Who's the kid that Raiden disappears with? They just said, we're gonna take that and we're gonna just have a couple different characters just spell it all out for you in about 3 minutes total. We're gonna have one character tell you exactly what Mortal Kombat is and then say she doesn't know what Mortal Kombat is, which makes no sense. Then we're gonna have Raiden come in out of nowhere, just tell us who the kid was that he walked away with at the beginning, and let that mystery just... And keep in mind, this was a mystery just for the audience, because the main characters don't know anything about that first 8 minutes. So Raiden coming out and having this big reveal with big sweeping music kind of falls flat because he's explaining it to characters that have no idea what he's talking about. And for us, there was no build-up, there was no character development to get to that mystery. It was just, oh, by the way, that thing that happened at the beginning, yeah, that was this kid. It served no purpose. So they didn't let us build to anything. They just told us everything, and then they didn't show us a thing because they took all those big, sweeping, wide shots from the beginning and narrowed it down to close-ups and tight shots of the characters. There were no good shots of where they were. So what little you did see, little half-second shots here and there of the different locations, were badly dressed sets, horribly plastic-looking ice, and throne rooms and other worlds that were very CG. You didn't get a good look at what was going on or where they were. Raiden's temple, revealed with big, sweeping music, you got about a half-second look at, so you couldn't tell, is that a temple? Was that a sand dune? I don't... And then you're off to the next thing. They tried to show you all these little teases, tapestries on the wall that were moving and magic, and before you could really figure out what you were looking at, back to the characters. And that was a real problem because they also replaced that nuanced emotional acting with charisma-less actors, zero interpersonal chemistry, cheesy dialogue that made no sense. The movie just became a jumble of close-up shots of bad acting and quick edits, which to me was the absolute biggest letdown because the editing style of those quick cuts bled into the fight scenes, and that was a huge letdown. You had a lot of veteran stunt and fight performers in this film. Some of the main characters and name characters were world-class martial artists, and they did them the huge disservice of editing the fight scenes in that Taken Bourne style, close, tight shots, fists, faces, 5 or 6 edits a second to try and make actors that can't sell it look good. But the problem is these were actors that can sell that punch, but instead of showcasing everything amazing that they were doing in wider shots, it was a big letdown to see those action scenes knowing what they could have been. And I know a lot of people are saying, it was a video game movie, we didn't have high expectations, and the problem with that thought process is this movie, the first 8 minutes, showed us that it can be done well, that we can expect more. I was just kind of disappointed. You know, you guys, I think we might have something here. Because not only do we have two entirely different reviews that I think a lot of people can see themselves in, one or the other, but for my own part, I land somewhere in the middle. I did have a great time watching this movie both times. And I'm really glad this was the movie that I picked to be the inaugural review of the channel, because it is a great example of a movie that you can really enjoy and simultaneously be incredibly aware of its flaws. Did this movie have problems with editing and pacing and effects and character development? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it was still Mortal Kombat. We still got to see a lot of what we came for. Awesome fight sequences, characters we know, characters that we want to see fighting other characters, superpowers, Easter eggs, and of course, the big, insane, gory fatalities. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed seeing the differing points of view. I know there's a lot of things I didn't get around to mentioning and probably some stuff I missed, so feel free to put those down in the comments, but just keep it civil, okay? Because guys, I am super excited about this channel and seeing where it goes as it grows and develops. So if there are any other movies that you'd like to see me review, go ahead and put those down in the comments as well, because I want to give you guys those videos. Right now, our goal for the channel is 100 subscribers, because that's when we can get verified and get our own YouTube URL. So please share this video with anybody you think would enjoy it, slam those like and subscribe buttons, and tap that little bell down in the corner if you want to be notified every time I release a new video. And until next time, I'm the Bipolar Critic. Oh, and so am I. And so am I. And so are they.